Hey guys, tonight we are going to dive deep into the underground literally. We're heading to a place that everyone talks about with fear and trembling. But honestly, if you look closely, it's less like a horror movie and more like a massive, poorly ventilated government building on a Monday morning. We're talking about the Greek underworld, specifically the daily grind of its CEO, Hades. You might think being the Lord of the Dead is all about sitting on a skull throne and laughing maniacally. But the reality, it's mostly zoning permits, overcrowding issues, and budget deficits. Just a heads up in this story, you might not survive the first day. Well, actually, since we are starting at the entrance to the underworld, technically you've already failed that part. Sorry about that. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, drop a comment down below telling me which city you are listening from and what time it is. I love seeing those timestamps from all over the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Imagine for a second that the floor beneath your feet isn't your warm carpet anymore. Instead, you're standing on cold, damp mud that squelches slightly every time you shift your weight. The air smells distinct. It's not necessarily rotting flesh, as pop culture would have you believe. It's more like the smell of a basement that hasn't been opened in 40 years. Musty stale, mixed with the sharp, biting scent of sulfur and wet dog. The lighting is terrible too. It's not pitch black, which would almost be better. Instead, it's this perpetual, depressing gray twilight. It's the kind of light that makes you squint, but lets you see just enough to realize how miserable everything looks. You might feel a chill and instinctively reach to pull your jacket tighter, only to look down and realize you aren't wearing your jacket. You're wearing a flimsy, translucent shroud, or maybe just the pajamas you went to sleep in. Don't panic. That's the standard uniform down here. You are standing at the very edge of the underworld. If we were to translate this into modern terms, this is the Immigration and Customs Control, or perhaps the TSA checkpoint from hell. You might expect to see grand, terrifying gates wreathed in hellfire, but what you actually see is a line, a massive, unending, soul-crushing line. Crowds of people, or rather, shades, are packed shoulder to shoulder. The queue stretches back into the fog so far, you can't see the end of it. It reminds you of the line for a roller coaster on a Saturday in July, or maybe the subway platform during rush hour when the train is delayed. The only difference is that no one is checking their phone. Everyone looks pale, confused, and utterly exhausted. You shuffle forward, inch by inch, carried along by the sheer mass of the crowd. Eventually, after what feels like hours of shuffling, you make it to the front. Before you lies a body of water so wide and dark, it looks like spilled ink. This is the river that separates the living from the dead. Now, here is something that historians and mythologists still argue about to this day. You've probably heard of the river Styx, right? Everyone assumes this is the Styx. But if you ask a strict ancient geographer, they might tell you that the river you are actually about to cross, the one that ferries the souls of the everyday dead, is more likely the Acheron, the river of woe. Cutting through the fog comes a boat. Standing at the stern is an old man who looks like he's been dried out in the sun for a millennium. This is Charon. Forget the hooded, skeletal Grim Reaper figure you've seen in movies. Charon looks more like a grumpy, overworked bus driver. In ancient Greek tradition, a coin, specifically an obol, was placed in the mouth of the deceased by their loving relatives. It was a funeral tip. Hopefully you feel the cold, metallic taste of a coin tucked under your tongue. Charon doesn't do charity. If you can't pay, you don't get to sneak on. Instead, you must wander this muddy shore for exactly 100 years as a pauper. Thankfully, you have your coin. You step into the boat, and as Charon pushes the pole into the riverbed and the boat lurches away, you look back at the crowd still waiting. You realize that this efficient, cold processing of souls isn't cruelty. It is logistics. And somewhere on the other side, in a palace made of obsidian, the man in charge is probably looking at a scroll, rubbing his temples, and wondering how he's going to process this many new arrivals before lunchtime. As the boat grinds against the pebbled shore of the far bank, you step out of Charon's skiff, your feet sinking into a fine, gray sand that feels more like ash than earth. Ahead of you looms the entrance to the Underworld proper, and standing right in the center of the path is Cerberus. Imagine the biggest, meanest stray dog you've ever seen. Then give him 2 extra heads, a tail that is actually a living, hissing serpent, and a case of drool so severe. It's basically a localized weather event. This brings us to a mainstream historical point. Cerberus isn't just a monster. He's a specialized security system. His job is remarkably specific. He's not there to keep you out. No, the Underworld has an open-door policy for the dead. His job is to make sure absolutely no one leaves. He is the ultimate one-way turnstile. As you approach, all 3 heads swivel toward you at different angles. You find yourself fumbling through your ghostly pockets, wishing you had a dog treat. Some later traditions suggest that clever souls would bring honey cakes to appease the beast, giving us the phrase, a sop to Cerberus. But let's be real. You're in your pajamas and you didn't even remember to bring a toothbrush, let alone a honey cake. So you walk past him very, very slowly, trying not to make eye contact with any of the 6 eyes currently tracking your movement. The snake tail hisses as you pass, its tongue flicking near your ear, and you realize this isn't just a guard dog. It's a living, biometric scanner. Beyond Cerberus lies the Great Vestibule, which is essentially the DMV of the afterlife. This is where the sheer scale of Hades' administrative nightmare starts to hit you. There are signs pointing toward different cues. There are posters on the walls warning about soul identity theft and reminders to have your life summary ready for review. You aren't being chased by demons, you're being funneled. You notice a group of official-looking figures moving through the crowd with clipboards. These are the lesser demons, the bureaucratic middle management of the dead. They are checking off numbers against a master list provided by the Fates. This is where you encounter a detail that historians still debate: the exact population and space of the Greek underworld. Regardless of the physics, it feels like a logistics disaster. Every war, every plague, every bad harvest on the surface results in a system surge down here. You see a demon nearby arguing with a recently deceased Roman centurion. The centurion is shouting about his medals, demanding a fast-track pass to the VIP section. The demon doesn't even look up from his scroll. Everyone is a hero until they get to the desk, pal. The demon mutters. It's a sobering realization. In the eyes of Hades' administration, your social status on Earth is just a footnote in a very long ledger. As you move deeper into the hall, the sound of the crowd changes. The loud wailing has died down into a low, anxious murmur. You pass a lost and found booth that is overflowing with things people tried to bring with them: swords, jewelry, even a very confused-looking spectral cat. A sign above the booth reads, "You can't take it with you. No exceptions." The air here is even heavier now, thick with the scent of old parchment and cold stone. You're approaching the first major checkpoint, the Gate of the Three Judges. You can see them in the distance: Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Aeacus, seated on high thrones. They aren't looking for good or evil in the way we think of it today. They are looking for balance. Rhadamanthus judged the souls from the east, Aeacus handled the Europeans, and Minos held the tie-breaking vote. It's basically a regional processing center system. You find yourself wondering which line you're in and whether your regional manager had their coffee this morning. While you wait, you notice that the air is filled with a faint, rhythmic scratching sound. It's the sound of thousands of quills writing on parchment. It turns out that every word you spoke and every promise you broke was recorded by the Furies or other minor spirits who act as the celestial stenographers. There is a specific academic controversy here that historians still debate the exact nature of the scales used in these judgments. Some scholars argue that the Greeks didn't even have a formal heaven or hell judgment until much later in their history. But for you, standing here right now, the judgment feels very real. You finally step up to the bench. Acus looks at you and asks about the things you did when no one was watching. As you stammer out your answers, you realize he isn't looking for a perfect score. He's looking for your net value. Behind the judges, you catch a glimpse of a massive doorway leading to a fork in the road. The judge sighs and scribbles something on a small clay tablet. He hands the tablet to a courier, who gestures for you to follow him toward the middle path. You're a neutral, the courier whispers. Welcome to the Asphodel Meadows. It's not great, it's not terrible. It's, well, you'll see. You feel a strange mix of relief and disappointment. You're just another file to be stored in the massive, eternal filing cabinet of the great beyond. The Asphodel Meadows is a vast, gray plain filled with pale, ghostly flowers. If the riverbank was the waiting room, this place is the world's largest, most monotonous break room. You look around and see people from every century wandering around with a look of mild confusion. There's a strange, muffled quality to the sound here. People talk, but their voices sound like the rustling of dry grass. As you wander, you notice many are drinking from a small, stagnant stream nearby. This is the Lethe, the river of forgetfulness. In many Orphic traditions, the ordinary soul was expected to drink from the Lethe to wipe away the memories of their mortal life. It was basically a spiritual cheat code to keep your identity in the afterlife. But you're just thirsty. You realize that the greatest threat here isn't a demon with a pitchfork. It's the sheer, crushing weight of boredom. There are no books, no music, no sunsets, and definitely no Wi-Fi. It's just an endless gray Tuesday afternoon. You see a man nearby trying to strike up a conversation with a woman who looks like she died in the Bronze Age. They struggle to find common ground because they've both forgotten most of their best stories. You start to realize that the management of this area is largely hands-off. There are no guards here because there's nowhere to go. You're in a giant, open-air filing cabinet. Suddenly, you see a ripple in the gray air. A path seems to open up toward the horizon, where the dim light gets a bit sharper, reflecting off something metallic and grand. It's the Palace of Hades. It's built from obsidian and iron, looking more like a cross between a fortress and a massive ancient law library. There are no windows, just flickering torches. As you step through the massive doors, you aren't greeted by screams, but by the rhythmic, frantic scratching of thousands of quills. Hades was often called Polydegmon, the host of many. He wasn't a devil. He was a cosmic landlord with a serious overpopulation problem. You walk down a corridor where the walls are made of stacked tablets, the property deeds of the Underworld. Hades was also known as Pluton, meaning the wealthy one, because he owned the most valuable resource of all humanity. You see minor deities scurrying past you, carrying stacks of paperwork. As you peek into one of the side rooms, you see a group of spirits marking down locations of recent battles and plagues on a massive map. This is how the Underworld forecasts its upcoming workload. One spirit mutters something about running out of storage space, and you realize that even the infinite realm of the dead has a filing problem. You finally reach the end of the hall and peek inside the main office. Hades isn't wearing a cape made of shadows. He's sitting at a desk made of solid ebony, hunched over a scroll that looks about 40 feet long. He's rubbing his temples with one hand while holding a quill in the other. He looks less like a god of terror and more like a man who just realized his favorite pen has run out of ink. Behind him, the two-process pile is literally touching the ceiling. You realize that the king of the dead doesn't spend his time plotting. He spends it trying to figure out why the death certificates don't match the arrival logs. Hades doesn't look up. He's currently engaged in what looks like a very intense battle with a piece of stubborn red wax. He looks tired, the kind of tired that sleep can't fix. This is the administrative hell that the poets never mentioned. While Zeus is off chasing lightning bolts, Hades is here, making sure the laws of staying dead are followed. Interestingly, his name literally might mean the unseen one, reflecting his invisibility. But if you look at the way the Greeks made offerings to him, thumping the earth to get his attention, it's clear they believed someone was down there listening. And based on what you're seeing, he's not just listening, he's taking notes. Suddenly, he speaks. "You are late for your assignment. Shade number 8,442,911, he says. You realize he is not just the king, he is the ultimate micromanager. He waves a hand, and a small, glowing spectral slip of paper appears in front of you. A work order. You've already been assigned to an internship in the records department. You look at the slip, then back at the king. He's already back to his scrolls. You realize that the quiet life you expected is off the table. As you leave, the ground beneath the palace starts to vibrate. It's a 10,000 soul spike in the attic sector. War has broken out again. You watch as the messengers start sprinting through the palace halls. Hades doesn't even look up. He just starts signing temporary transit permits at a speed that makes his hand a blur. He has to authorize the expansion of the holding pen Alpha just to keep the riverbank from collapsing. Thousands of souls arrive at the river Acheron simultaneously. For Hades, war wasn't about strategy. It was a mass casualty event that created a logistical bottleneck. You realize that the pride of Greece is being reduced to a line of people waiting for their bunk assignments. As you navigate the corridors, you almost collide with the Furies, the Internal Affairs and Compliance Department. They make sure that if you were a bad person, your afterlife experience is appropriately miserable. They don't scream. They just lean in close and whisper something that makes clerks turn a translucent shade of green. You follow them into a side office filled with charts showing the efficiency of eternal torture. It's not about the pain, it's about the rhythm. One of the Furies looks over at you. The betrayal of hospitality files are a mess. Fix them. You quickly nod, clutching your scrolls tighter. The deeper you go, the more you realize how high the stakes are. You follow Hades on a structural integrity audit to Tartarus, the maximum security wing. He's checking the seals on the doors. He stops in front of a massive iron gate and taps it. A low, thunderous growl echoes. Hades just sighs. The lock on the cell is squeaking again. No one follows through on maintenance anymore. You realize that being the Lord of the Dead involves a lot of facility management. If one of those celestial inmates so much as rattles a chain, the paperwork for a potential reality breach takes 3 decades to file. Leaving the abyss, you head toward Elysium, the VIP lounge. But high-end real estate brings high-end headaches. You watch a legendary kingdom man to know why his eternal banquet hasn't started yet. Hades doesn't even look up. Your banquet is scheduled for the 3rd eon. Please, stop bothering the harpies. You notice a scroll labeled Dispute, Achilles versus Agamemnon ongoing. Apparently, they've been arguing over the same seating arrangement for 3,000 years. Hades has to act as a mediator because if the heroes start a brawl, they might accidentally knock over the pillars of reality. As the silver gates click shut, you head back to the main offices. Your administrative tour is winding down. You watch Hades sign the final daily summary scroll. He moves slowly now. He is the god everyone forgets until they absolutely have to remember him. He finishes the last scroll and sets his quill down. He looks at the outbox, which is finally empty. He stands up, blows out the main torch on his desk, and the room plunges into a soft, velvety darkness. The scratching of quills in the outer halls has finally faded. Even the dead need a moment of silence. Now, let your breath slow down. Imagine that the heavy scrolls you've been carrying are being taken from your hands, one by one. You don't have to sort anything anymore. You don't have to worry about the ink or the ledgers or the long lines at the riverbank. The administrative work of the day is finished. The inkwells are dry, the quills are put away, and the great bronze doors of the palace are softly swinging shut. Can you hear that? It's the sound of the river Lethe far in the distance. It doesn't sound like a rushing torrent anymore. It sounds like a gentle hum, a soft white noise that's washing away the stresses of the world above. All those things you were worried about. The deadlines, the emails, the things you forgot to do. They're just drifting away, like autumn leaves on a dark stream. The air around you is getting cooler, but it's not the biting cold of the underworld. It's the cool, crisp feeling of clean sheets. You are sinking back into the soft gray mist of the meadows. And for the first time in a long time, there is absolutely nothing left for you to do. The king has signed off on your file. Your place is secure. You are exactly where you need to be. The flickering torchlight is fading now, replaced by a deep, peaceful violet. Your eyes are getting heavy, so heavy. Sleep is the one thing even Hades respects. So, let yourself go. Drift into that quiet, orderly space where the silence is a gift. The end. Good night.